Right. Here we are at Delfest with Jon Stickley Trio, Hunter and Lindsay and Jon Stickley, and you guys played today at the Potomac stage, and we had so much fun watching you guys. And I wanted to first ask you, how did you guys get together? How did you all meet?
Well, we were on a gig together, backing up a friend of ours, Lindsay and I. He's actually the banjo player in The Grass Is Dead now.
And they're playing at this festival today.
Yeah, at the time he was playing it around in Asheville, and he called me and he called her, and that's when we met. And I had just started booking some gigs as Jon Stickley Band, and Lindsay was the first person I called for that.
Right, and then how did Hunter get in?
Well, 9 months later, he was born.
That was it.
Yeah, that was 1 year ago. That was,
No.
It's been a good ride, huh?
Yeah.
been a good, real fast.
Hunter is the newest member of the band,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
He's pretty fresh with us relative to the amount of time that we've had in the band actually going. So he's only been with us since January.
Well, how did Jon Stickley come about to where we're at now? I've heard different forms of bands you were in, but where did it all start out?
It wasn't until I basically found myself without a gig that I decided to start my own band.
What kind of gigs were you playing? Just for
Played
other people?
Yeah, bluegrass bands and singer-songwriters.
You had just come off the Town Mountain thing, right?
I was playing bass
Pretty
with
much.
Town Mountain for a
nice.
couple of years, and then that kind of basically came to an end, and no one was looking for.
Because Robert Greer
Guitar
was like,
players.
"You need to play guitar."
Yeah, he
In your
forced
life.
me to quit.
Well, when you were playing
they had
guitar
tons of
today, and it was sick what you were playing. It was really blowing
It
everyone
was
away.
right.
It really, because
Okay.
it was insane with what you were playing. It was wow.
Guitar is my main, I would say, love, as an instrument.
So did you end up just going to Asheville, or is that where you're from?
I actually I grew up in North Carolina and went to school in Raleigh, and then after college moved to Durango, Colorado to join a band, Broke Mountain, which is the one you were talking about earlier.
With
all the famous people in it.
Andy Thorne
Andy,
was on
Travis,
banjo, Travis on bass from
Anders on dobro,
wow.
and a guy named Robin Davis on mandolin, and I played guitar.
And this was before any of you guys were.
Yeah, this is right out of college.
Right out of
We had a
college.
band in Chapel Hill called the Big Fat Gap. We had played a ton through college, but
Right.
they're still a band. My brother's the guitar player.
Oh,
now,
wow.
Actually,
Awesome.
What? Oh, what's still a band?
Big Fat Gap.
Oh, Big Fat Band. Oh, yeah.
And then, then we went out to do Broke Mountain, and we did that for 2 years. And after that, I moved to Asheville to join the Biscuit Burners.
Oh wow, nice. Well, lots going on in Asheville for finding stuff going on. For
Yeah,
music
yeah.
wise.
And at the time, I was just like, that's where the band was that I knew, and I didn't love the mountains that much personally, but since after living there for 12 years or so, it's become home for sure.
Well, how long you hit the road? You guys just constantly traveling now?
We're very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty much doing this full time with just breaks here and there to.
Well,
rest.
had people find you have an album out, some CDs and stuff?
Yep. We've got like 4 albums out on Spotify, iTunes.
How do people find your website? What's that?
CD Baby, just Google Jon Stickley and it'll come up.
Oh, nice.
Stickley
Jon.
Trio.
Jon, yeah. Well, that's cool. So, what were you doing before meeting up with Jon?
I lived in Nashville. I went to Belmont University, which is where I studied.
Just playing the fiddle all the time, like since you were a kid?
Yeah, played fiddle all the time. Classical when I was early on, and then I had jazz violin teacher, and just kind of like kept always jamming with whoever was around. And a couple years after college, I just decided that I wanted to get out of Nashville, and decided after a
Go to
spontaneous
Asheville.
trip to Asheville that after traveling all out west and trying to find another place to live, I finally went back to Nashville, and then just went 5 hours east and realized that I should have just went there in the first place.
Nah, it's all good. You got something.
Yeah,
out
it
of
was a
all the other
process.
stuff.
It was a
Yeah.
process.
And it's not even like you weren't buying into hype, because Asheville wasn't that hyped up at that time.
No, it
right?
wasn't.
I mean,
No, it wasn't hyped up
even
at
me,
all.
I was like,
and in fact,
Asheville, I've been there. It's all right.
the
Yeah.
stigma to me was that it was all very like so traditional that I wasn't. That's not what I was really into at that point. But I
Right.
did kind of realize around that time that I wanted to like kind of like play more bluegrass at that time. And that's my kind of family heritage is
Right.
bluegrass family.
Well, when you guys are putting these songs together, it sounds like there's a lot of arrangement involved.
Yes.
It's not like you guys are just saying, okay, in the key G, let's hit it. You know, like it sounds like
Yeah.
this. So there must be lots of practicing going on for this, I assume. Or
Initially.
am I right? Yeah. Like so when you walk in to put out a new album and you guys are in the studio, is that where the arrangements get put together, or
There'd
is
be a
it?
big push before the recording, hopefully. You know, in the best case, there'd be a period of time where we would kind of hunker down and work on music for a while, and then we record it, and then it grows a lot when we start playing live. And you know, I look at it as we don't add material that much. We play the same. You know, it's very rare that we add a new song, but every time we play any given song, it's more about the performance of the song as opposed to, hey, here's a different song for y'all to hear. Like, here's how we feel today, and here's how we're going to kind of interpret this piece.
Seems
right
like
now.
a pretty intense performance. I mean, Hunter on the drums, he has a big spot there as well. Usually the drummer is, gets a couple moments here and there, and other than that, but you were front and center there for a good bit there.
Yeah.
Ripping it apart. You guys are back there with big old smiles on your faces too, and
the trio, the whole like idea of being just a trio, and if drums is one of those instruments, I mean, you can't. Yeah.
Pretty equal.
Can't ignore it.
Maybe
Yeah.
slightly
And
more
that's what
different.
we that's part of how we lured Hunter into the whole thing. We're like, we want you to, because he just joined us in January, and we've been a band 5 or 6 years before that. We were just like, we want you to be able to be yourself within this music that already exists and do your.
I remember I said, I was like, are you comfortable being more like a equal part of the third, or would you rather just be a drummer in a band?
Yeah.
And be the back, and because
It's not
both
common.
are awesome.
It's not
Both are
common.
He's got
Yeah.
tons of shit.
He's like
to say.
a lead instrument
Yeah.
almost.
would you?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
more of a just back in the back drummer? I mean, is that
Yeah.
where you're comfortable, or do you want to be a little more up in the front?
And for me, it's a thing that I can do either
Yeah.
completely fine.
What'd you do before? Where'd you play before?
I'm based in Knoxville, and I play a lot in Knoxville, or I had been playing a whole lot in Knoxville. I've done a little bit of touring with a guy named Sam Lewis out of Nashville. And I've played with a few other folks, a guy named Scott Miller and Arby Morris, but most of what I do is in Knoxville. Knoxville's got a lot going on. And so
Jazz.
Which is one of the things I do a lot of
But it
jazz.
seems that you guys are like, it's hard to even classify what it is the genre. It's bluegrass, but it's not old traditional bluegrass. There's some heavy arrangements to it. It's got like a jam band to it. It's got some jazz, like I said earlier, that Tony Rice piece he did just blew me away. I mean,
We feel like it's like an ode, like sort of like a nod to, and try to have a certain integrity of the what was what the style of the bluegrass and newgrass that we're coming from.
Yeah.
It's just not a recreation of it.
Yeah, I say
Well,
that
no,
a lot,
yeah,
and,
I agree,
A
yeah.
lot when people ask, I say like, myself personally, I think Lindsay some, and Hunter too, maybe in a different way, have committed ourselves to the study of a certain type of music, like the traditional style of bluegrass, jazz, whatever. And anything that we do, even though it's way far off the map from traditional music of any kind, we try to maintain those core principles of what we studied so hard to do right in the style of bluegrass or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, keep it alive in a certain spirit.
Play
So-
with drive, with timing, and slightly in tune.
So besides your dad being a bluegrass person. Besides that, who, for all you guys, who were the influences when you were younger, and who was it that kind of helped you mentally get into the direction that where you're at right now?
Well, I know that we share a lot of, Stickley and I share a lot of similar influences when it comes to the like newgrass world. So, like, we both love the work of David Grossman and Bela Fleck, and and all that, Sam Bush and Jerry, all those kind of people.
Here at Delfest, Congress is coming up. I hope you guys are going to get to
that's why
see that.
that's a big part of why this festival is so amazing. Yeah.
I just came from Brisbane. It was killer.
More excited about this lineup than any festival I've been to.
But I think that's like the biggest cross section of Stickley and I, like, as far as musical interest.
Yeah,
but you've got a lot more.
I've got a ton. But what got me serious about anything was, I would have to say, Grisman. What he did with the quintet, and where that line of thinking that went from there. I mean, that's what I first heard, and then Tony Rice. I was just like, dude, this is unbelievable music.
Yeah.
And
he just did the three, him and his son and Danny Barnes.
Yeah, I know.
Just played,
And then from there, I went back and like learned the history and got an ear for the Stanley Brothers. Like, Stanley Brothers are one of my favorite bands of all time, along with all the punk bands from the 90s too. right up there with them. No
it seems that there's a lot of influences when you guys are playing, because it seems like you touch on so many different aspects. I guess that's your what you guys are. Yeah. Pretty cool.
What's your influences?
So I grew up with classic rock. And classical music, actually, and then got into jazz, and was way into jazz. I'm still way into jazz. It's hard to pay a mortgage with jazz, and then when you start playing other music, once you've spent a lot of time with jazz, and I guess jazz kind of lends itself to a lot of different styles, and especially it promotes listening to everyone that you're playing with. So going from jazz to another style of music is great, because it gives you a very, very different perspective. Even if you're playing like soul music and you're just playing really straight groove, your ears are geared a little bit differently than they are if you're coming out of something else. So
it seems very like a thing that's happening in this band.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It seems like you guys are doing that as well.
And it's in the same way, like same with bluegrass. If you've played bluegrass, if you've really gotten really good at bluegrass, then that teaches you so much about jumping in and playing other styles of music, because you learn that, I don't just follow a drummer. I don't have to, I have to be responsible for everything, just like everyone else is. I'm part of this rhythmically, melodically, and you have to listen and you learn the community
of it too.
And you do your part. You play your role.
Right.
How do songs come together? Are you constantly writing, or do you just write when you say, all right, it's time to put a new album out, we got to write something?
Yeah, that's how I pretty much function under a deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, I have ideas that I try to capture, but it's not until I think the studio time is booked is when I gather them all up and come up with some shit, and then we tweak it.
Yeah.
Try to make it cool.
Well, it's working, obviously. It's working real good. So what other, where are you guys heading to? Like, what's on the agenda for the summer? You're real busy. You got all kinds of.
A lot of festivals.
I tell you what, if you could take a dart and have a big map of the U.S., put a blindfold on, drink about 8 of these bad boys, and then throw that dart. We're probably going to be somewhere near.
Okay.
At some point, we'll be somewhere near that dart.
Yeah, at some point between now and November, we're going to be there.
If you want to see us, there's only a handful of places where
we're not
going to
see us. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
There's a lot of festivals, but yeah, you just gotta.
The important
you
thing
might
is
have to-
come see us in between those festivals, because that's when
Yeah.
no one comes to see us.
Right.
Yeah.
The club dates.
We love the festivals, but
Right.
when we're in Nebraska, in your town, we need you.
Yeah.
And once
so
you get
go
to
to
Nebraska-
johnstickley.com.
Check out Nebraska.
Once you get to Nebraska, we'll drink 8 of these and throw darts and
Together, yeah.
We'll figure out the next
We'll
gig.
hang
We'll figure out
out.
the next gig. You'll have the
Awesome. Well, we will we tell everyone that we can to do that and check it out and try to catch you. And I hope that everyone gets a chance to see it because honestly, we only saw the one set. You guys got another set tomorrow, I know, right?
And that's when we're doing our bluegrass progressive crossover set.
Yeah, I can't wait. My buddy said when you said the Manzanita from Tony Rice, my buddy just like looks at me and says, just for someone to, take that on, like, you gotta be at a certain level just to even consider playing.
It's not
that.
an easy tune.
No,
Really, it's not
at
an
all.
easy
It's
tune.
No.
very, very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, we're going to see you, and we're going to check out JonStickley.com
.com.
or
Jon
Google
Stickley.com.
that. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.